were opening up, they're like, how are you going to separate yourself? Which is just like an outdated question, because it's like, oh, like they do the fruited hazy this, they do the kettle sour that. Like this brewery now does lagers, which are finally cool.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to make beer that I want to drink.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is doing that. So that was my answer for a while, but in the back of my head, because I didn't want to ruin it, was like, we have a space that's not a brewery. Like, it's one of my best friends who worked in the industry for a long time. He came in and he sat down and he was just like, are you brewing here? I'm like, yeah. He asked me, where's the brewery? And I was like, right there. It was right next to him. Like he didn't notice it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like, that's a good thing and a bad thing for us, where it's just like, we don't want to be just like everyone else. We wanted to separate ourselves somehow, and the tasting room is how we separate ourselves. Like, it's an experience that's uniquely ours. And because it's like the beer that I want to make it's unique because I made it, but it's not unique in the grand sense of beer. Like, it's just well-made beer, but I still like classic styles. Like, you know, I'm drinking a cream ale, and cream ales are top seller. Like cream ale's not a sexy beer. It's not anything that special.
Yeah, if you think that you're going to go make something...
That's actually where the name came from. They're like, why is it special? I'm like, I don't know. It's special enough.
Welcome back to the Brew Dat Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum, and today we have on Andrew, Ruby. What do you...
Ruby. Everyone calls me Ruby, but Andrew Rubenstein.
Cool. I guess been everywhere brewery guy from Sacred Vice. So we'll get into, we obviously want to talk everything Sacred Vice with you, but we want to first, I guess, get your background, because you seem to have worked everywhere. You know everybody in the Philly brewing scene.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you like drinking, you get to meet a lot of people in the industry. So
definitely.
That's what always has helped me, like, get to where I have gotten today. Was just, you know, meeting people and not like turning down any like situation to go and hang out and just learn from other people. Mm-hmm. So,
you're not hanging out, you're networking.
Yeah.
We have a lot of semi-professional events.
My girlfriend loves it when I say that. It's like, I'm networking, it's part of my job. But yeah, so I first started brewing beer semi-professionally. I think I was like a junior in college.
And you say semi-professional, does that mean professionally just without pay?
Yeah. So way back when, I've been doing it for I think when I first started, it was about 2007 or 8. I was 21 or 22.
Cool.
Wow. So I was living in West Philly. I was going to Drexel, and I kept meeting this one dude that he was like a rock climber. I rock climb. I saw him like out in like Kelly Drive climbing, and then the brewery opened up. I'm like, oh, you're that guy that I keep seeing like all over town. So his name is Michael Fava. He was one of the original head brewers at Dock Street when they first opened up. So I started getting involved there. I got to know him, and started volunteering there. Whenever I would have time during the day, I would go grain out and get paid in like lunch. So
was
I'd
it just
eat a cheeseburger or something?
He was the only brewer there?
It was him, Ben Potts, and Scott Morrison.
And Ben Potts is at Second District.
Was at Second District.
Was at Second District.
No longer in the industry now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's another one.
He left that job, and he's doing a maintenance job for a big company.
Okay, so cool.
He's very happy.
Yeah. And then Scott, I guess, has built everybody's brew house in the city.
Yeah, Scott's the dude. So he helped me build mine too. So it was a really cool full circle kind of
Definitely.
thing. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was volunteering there, just here and there, like nothing too crazy. I was learning a little bit, like not a ton. And then when Fava left there, he went to Nottinghead, and I got involved in Nottinghead too. And I was still back at Dock Street because Ben became head brewer at that point. And then I graduated college, and then I was working at the Foodery also. That was actually paying me money.
Which one?
The Center City one. And
cool.
I bounced around. Well, there were only 2 at the time, but I bounced between 2nd Street and Center City, but primarily Center City. So like I knew beer, I had access to good beer, and I developed my palate that way. I had a decent discount, even though I wasn't getting paid a lot. Like,
yeah.
That's what helped. That's actually how I got into beer in the first place, was just like, I can't afford this shit. So like, what am I going to do? I'll just make it myself. It's like, oh, this is easy enough. But yeah. And then, so once I graduated, I got a job at Iron Hill. So the late great Chris LaPierre, he was my first like real boss in the industry. He was my first boss in the industry. So I was with him at Maple Shade Iron Hill for a bunch of years. And then I bounced around building a bunch of them until Bob Brewer, who was the head brewer.
Building breweries for Iron Hill?
Yeah. So I opened, I think, 4 breweries for them.
And was that your job? Were you like the build-out guy? Or you
no,
were just
things didn't work out with Lappy.
Yeah.
And then he didn't let me go, but he hired another assistant. And then Paul Rutherford picked me up to build Chestnut Hill. Okay. Then I just bounced around.
Because you've already seen 2 of them, and now you're just the guy.
And then...
quick question, like detail on building out a brew house. Like, what does that entail? Like, what are you looking for some of that?
Well, the Iron Hill, there was pretty much a skit that you went by at Iron Hill.
Okay.
It was more the Mark Edelson, who's one of the owners, he kind of like... set everything up for the head brewers and the assistants, and then they just sort of go through a checklist, and then they're
the construction maintenance.
Yeah, they're the specialized like brewers that are actually like making it function, because they're the guys who are there just general construction. They know what they're doing, they don't know why they're doing it, but the brewers are the ones that know why everything's supposed to go where it's supposed to go, and then they end up making the beer. So everything is put together the way that it's going to make them comfortable ultimately when they take over and everything turns on. So, but I was always the assistant to the head brewer who was going to stay there until I hit Voorhees with Kevin Walter, who is now the brewer and owner of
what a brewing tree! Like every single person you've named has gone
Iron Hill,
on to
the Iron Hill
Well, even before that at Dock Street,
incredible.
It's like every single place you've worked has just been like these people that everybody knows.
Beer was awesome back in the day. There wasn't so much a fall from grace, but like it's just we all just got older and things changed. But back when it was like, hip, and I got to work with some really talented people.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and they all helped me get to where I am. And that's part of the story. Was, bouncing around and meeting all these people and gaining the experience.
So many different perspectives.
Yeah. So you get a well-rounded education that way. But yeah, I was at Voorhees for about a year under Kevin. Then he got promoted, and then I was sort of left there to figure stuff out. And I still had guidance, but he was getting promoted to be kind of Mark's second hand.
Yeah. I'm sorry to stop you. How does Iron Hill work? There's a head brewer and an assistant brewer at every location.
I have no idea how it works.
Well, when you were there,
I was there, every location had their own beer menu, and it was representative of the head brewer and the assistant brewer that was there.
And now they have the main production facility, so they probably need less.
Yeah, so there was always the house beers. There was light lager and Vienna and porter and some other stuff.
Yeah,
but a lot of these places had 20 plus beers on draft.
Yeah.
And they were unique at every location. It was awesome. And you could go to every single Iron Hill and there's always a consistency, but there's still that mark in that that
location
separation.
Yeah.
You could go to all of them and have a completely different experience, even though everything is from just the aesthetic of the restaurant to every house beer tasting exactly the same.
Yeah.
But then everyone's twist on what they the list that they do is uniquely that brewer.
That's cool.
In that location. Mm-hmm. And that was a great place to learn because the industry always was and still is just very communal. If anyone asks me any of my secrets, I'll tell them. I don't have any secrets. How I do something is not the same.
There's
way
no brewing secrets
in
brewing. Recipes are not really protected. It's not
right. And even when people keep secrets, they're oh, it's it's our patented whatever. I just roll my eyes. I'm all right, cool. It's got hops, yeast, and water in it. Solid.
Yeah.
But yeah. So being at Iron Hill is an awesome place to be brought up, and you're under the wing of not just I was under the wing of not just Lappy, but at the time there were 9 or 10 locations. So every single brewer there worked with me at some point, whether directly or if we just got together, we could always just talk to each other, and we were all in it together.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then when Bob Barrar quit, who was like the big powerhouse of the Iron Hill team. He came to me and he was just like, "Hey, I'm leaving. I got my eye on you. What do you think?" And I took a few months and I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we started 2SP Brewing.
Very cool. And then you guys, 2SP is the first location was where it's at now in Chester, right?
There's only one location. But
Yeah.
They have a bunch of restaurants. Their
But
sister company
the
is
first
Tombstones.
brewery that they opened was the one. Like
Yeah.
You guys started off at that big, beautiful brew house.
Yeah, in Chester.
Yeah.
Or not Chester, Aston. But
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a Chester address.
Yeah. I mean, that's yeah. There's a lot of there's like regional size brews, like 50-barrel brew houses, 100-barrel brew houses around here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of small places, but I think 2SP and Love City are kind of like that nice middle ground where it's not big, it's not small.
They were two of the last ones that did it and were successful.
And a nice canning line. It was like, I remember seeing it the first time. It was like, that place was beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Canning line was a pain in the ass. No, but it was fast and it had a big footprint and it got the job done. So
Yeah.
Canning's just like, talk to any brewer. Nobody likes canning.
No.
So, but yeah, I was there for 6 years. So I started it with Bob. Everything was already purchased and set up, but not set up, but like it was on its way. And then my first day was when all the equipment showed up.
Nice.
So I did the build out with him. We did all the recipes. A lot of the first recipes were between him and I, and then I sort of took the reins on doing a lot of like the R&D stuff, and a lot of the recipes ended up being stuff that was primarily like stuff that I worked with the sales team to figure out like what our brands were going to be and what works for them, what works for the market, and so yeah, it was a crazy experience. A lot of beer.
A lot of beer and like another opening, but this is like a different type of opening. It's not a brew pub opening.
No,
it's
just you open it and you're like, well, I guess I'm going to be here a while. Rather than open it, I'm like, yeah, I'll be here like a year or two. There's plenty of other places to go.
Yeah.
So, but that
was
didn't
the
bother
plan
me.
then that like this was going to be the spot you're staying at, or you had always had
definitely.
your?
No, that was the spot.
So you weren't thinking about opening up your own place like that was
me personally.
Yeah.
No, I don't regret it. Like at this point. But
Yeah.
It's just like
but that wasn't like you got in this to start that.
Even when I was presented with the opportunity to start my own place, I was just like, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, fast forward like 6 years after I started 2SP. Not even 6 years, maybe like 3 or 4 years after, I met Justin.
At 2SP, from 2SP?
No, I met him at Varga Bar.
Oh, really?
So
Shout out Rich.
He lives around that area, so that's his corner bar. And then I was going there a lot more than I go there now, but I was in Center City all the time, and I was always going there. And then one of the bartenders introduced me to him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm opening up my own brewery." I'm like, "That's cool." So he showed me like the branding and stuff like that. I'm like, "All right, that's nice." He was brewing on like a 10-gallon Sabco system, so it was just like a hobby for him, and he just sort of took it the extra mile and made a whole brand and opened a bar and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first thing that I
He
told
was
him,
already had the Amber Street.
This was right before they were opening Amber Street.
Okay.
So it was like probably 2019 or so, like right before COVID. So he was showing me all this stuff. It's actually a pretty funny story. I was like, the one thing that I would tell a home brewer is like, watch your pH. Like pH is so important, and like you need a good pH, or not even a good pH meter. You just need one.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to like however many years when we opened it, like last year, I bought him his first pH meter. But no, I met him there, and then COVID hit, and we became very close. And then we'll get to the story of how Sacred Vice was a thing based on like what I know from him and the other partners' perspective. But from my perspective, him and I got really close, and then during COVID, we had our bubble or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was pretty much my bubble, just like him and a couple other people. We would get together and play board games like every Friday or something like that. And one day it was just like, we're gonna do something bigger than Amber, and we want you to do it, and we're probably not gonna do it if you don't do it. So
Yeah.
And then I took a couple months, and I eventually said yes. And here we are.
Nice.
Yeah.
Seemed like it worked out very smoothly.
So far, yeah, I guess so.
So this was what? This is 2020, middle
dude,
2020, 2021.
That's a whole nother story in itself, man, opening this fucking place. Am I allowed to curse? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever you want.
All right. I should have said that. All right.
I think because we're drinking alcohol, like we're already canceled from everything,
Yeah.
so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, opening that place is a whole nother story. So it's like when I quit 2SP, I think it was like 2021 maybe. What is it, 2025 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us like 3 years to open the Perk spot from when I quit. And I gave myself 6 months to just like travel and not have a job for a while and spend all my savings. But like opening Berks was just one thing after another.
Well, with just like the zoning of the building and like the brew
zoning
house,
was
it was just
like all the licensing was already there because they had Ambler already. We just had to transfer everything over. It was just like the building was old and it was completely gutted. Working with the landlord's contractors, even working with our contractors was difficult because everything was so delayed. Like if you're not within the timeline that a contractor expects, you lose your chance to work with them because they have other jobs lined up. So it's just like once one thing is delayed, it's the domino effect that goes through like everything. And then like, you know, it's just everything just being made for the space and dealing with so many people and trying to get everybody on the same page is just very difficult. Like the equipment showed up and like the floors still had mud on them. Like, you know, or just like the fabricator was just like, you have to get this out of our warehouse. Like,
yeah.
And so we just accepted it. So, yeah.
So, I mean, but you guys were already selling beer.
We were, yeah. I was brewing 10 gallon, or not even 10 gallons, like 9-gallon batches that we were just selling out the back door, kind of.
And you had Amber Street. Like, can you explain the logistics of like Amber Street? I mean, it was in an art studio.
Yeah, it's like a big art studio right near K&A. It's on Amber and Allegheny. In a big warehouse. So
I brought my friends there one time. They're like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
place?
Even,
like, no, like trust me.
Dude,
it was like Narnia. You get in there.
The first time my mom came, she walked up and then she tried the code and it didn't work. And I was just like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "The code didn't work," so I left. I was like, "Are you gonna come back?" And she's like, "Nope, I'm done." Like,
send some pictures.
Yeah, so it's a big warehouse and it's a dark street, but
is it the same warehouse that Humber Parlor's
yeah,
on?
it is. Yeah, cool. And they're actually opening a production facility there, or not a production facility per se, but like.
I want to ask them about that. They were like, they're putting it on wood and they're shooting the wood. It seems like I don't know. I have a lot of questions for them.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I haven't spoken to them in a while. They come in every once in a while. It's been a minute. Like everyone got busy, so.
Which I also your new tap room is beautiful.
Thank you.
The one in Amber Street was I want to say not as beautiful, but it had the same type of vibe. Where
right.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't want to say. Kind of looks like your grandma's house, but then I saw a quote from
like your
Justin
cool aunt that lets you smoke weed in the basement.
Exactly.
Like
then I saw a quote from Justin basically saying like, in quotes, like your old crazy aunt's living room.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Well, I'm not the one. I didn't say like I do. It's it feels very like welcoming, but it's like it does have like this unique feel to it.
Sure. Yeah. It's like, you know, with the new one, the color scheme was very calculated. So it has that extra element of being warm and inviting.
Definitely, it's very warm.
The big thing why we chose the space that we're in, like as soon as I walked in, the two things that I noticed was there's two giant walls of windows. Mm-hmm. So we're on a corner.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful corner, like
right next to the Berks train station.
Right next to the L. So
yeah.
It's like a really good spot. So I was always hopeful that like happy hour would just like blow it out of the water. Just be like people get off the train and just come there. Like going to South Philly for sports games, just like stop there.
Yep.
Get on the train, go down, come back, get one there before you go home or something like that. Like great accessibility to transportation. But just like it's a 200-year-old building, so it's like getting brick like that, and the deal that we got with like it being new construction. I'm using quotations.
Yeah.
Like it was a perfect. I walked, and even the history of the building. It's the Berks warehouse. when I was 18, when I first moved to the city, like I would go to the Burke's Warehouse to go to like DJ shows and like art shows and stuff like that.
That's
like,
so cool.
Yeah, like
Like another full circle for you.
everyone's got a story about the Burke's Warehouse. And like when I first walked in, I'm like, this is the Burke's Warehouse. Like, as long as this place doesn't completely suck, like this is it. And when you walk in, you see the brick, you see the big windows. We're on the corner. It's right next to the L. I'm like, yeah, dude, like this is it. I was like, I think you showed me 2 spots, and this was the second one.
And you were a part of this with Justin going around?
Yeah, so the first spot was a little too small. It was a little too close to what Ambler is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, dude, if you choose this, then I'm not your guy. Like, this is too small.
I mean, it does, not that your place is too small. I think if you guys would have gone smaller, definitely would have been a mistake. I mean, you guys can very easy, like every single time I've gone there, it's so packed.
Yeah. But not even that. It's just like, we all wanted to make money, so it's just like the amount of money that you can make on a 5-barrel.
Definitely
or less,
logistics.
It's just like, yeah, this is not worth like, leaving 2 SP for. Like, so, I mean, not to anyone's discredit, but like, it was just, I had what I am looking towards the future for, and he's making a giant step from a 9-gallon system and never working in the industry professionally. So it was like, coming up with that middle ground was like pretty challenging.
The 9-gallon system that he was brewing on, and the whatever, what is it?
10
2 SP is 10 barrels.
Our 2 SP was 20 barrel.
20 barrels. That's like meat right in the middle.
Yeah, it's like I'm somewhat in charge of a 10,000 plus barrel a year brewery, and I'm not. It's not quite the right move potentially to go to something producing like 60 barrels a year or something like that. So,
yeah.
But that never happened. They were awesome to like get through that with. They were all very understanding and willing to just like do it and do whatever it takes.
So did they kind of trust you? I mean, you got the specific mechanical brew house with all the bells and whistles on it. Like, can you walk us through the setup of your brewery?
Setup, it's 3-vessel, so it's got a mash kettle, a cereal cooker, and a lauter ton.
Cool.
So I kind of plumbed it. I worked with the engineer to do a lot of the engineer from Specific.
Yeah.
To like kind of make the brewery looking back from all the recipes and all the styles that I want to brew. Like, how am I going to do this? So working out the schematics with the engineer to make sure that I can do like this process, this process, this process. A lot of it was specific recipes that I was like, I know I want to do this process. So in my head, this is how I think it works.
Yeah, let's walk through it step by step and see if this makes sense.
It's like those schematics on the system were specially designed for like a saison or a decoction brew or double mash, like wanting to do rests, like trying to figure out how to navigate and save a bunch of time and not be there for 20 hours for a beer or for a brew. So that's always a really fun like fact to tell people. It's like, this one pipe was just for one recipe. Oh, what's that recipe? I haven't brewed it yet. So. It's Baltic Porter. It was like that specific one. So yeah, working backwards from that with the engineer. So yeah, pretty much you can mash into either the lauter ton for British beers, just for single infusion for British beers or IPAs or whatever. You can mash into the kettle to do step mashes for whatever you want, saisons or like any other beer. You can do decoction with the cereal cooker. The cereal cooker is jacketed, so I plumbed it in as a wort receiver too to do what I said about like double mashes and saving you some time and not having to like figure out like where you're gonna like how you're gonna use a wort receiver. So that's some old Iron Hill stuff that I learned along the way, like doing a double mash Russian. Like some of those breweries couldn't handle it. You had to run off into your fermenter because there was nowhere else to put the wort. So
yeah, and that gets just way too complicated.
Yeah,
then you're like cleaning random things.
It's just a pain in the ass, and you're always cleaning something in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
running out of water. So
nice. So you got all designed. I mean, you guys also have the sideways lagering tanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sideways lagering tanks, and something that you can convince me all day, and it still doesn't make sense to me. Putting your bright tanks in the cooler.
Yeah.
That is such an Iron Hill
it's
thing.
just a big keg. That's what Scott said. Scott was my consultant, Scott Morrison. He was
Yeah.
just like, you Iron Hill guys and your bright tanks. Like,
It's
I
everybody
clean
does
a bunch of kegs and like.
Love City does the same thing, right?
No, I don't think they do. They're
Their
all
bright
kegs.
tanks. No, but their bright tanks are in the cooler.
Oh,
I think they have some serving tanks that are. It's
I know they
funny
have
that's
some
like an
Grundys, but
Iron Hill thing.
It is an Iron Hill thing, but it's like when most of your business is over the bar, like. And all I have to do is transfer a beer to a giant
I think I'm
keg,
just not
and
used to
like,
it, so
I'm done.
I would never do it. But like I do understand it, and like I think like the big Budweiser plants, like I think a lot of their bright tanks and lagering tanks are in like the cold coolers also.
I mean, I did work through the blueprints of the space to do jacketed bright tanks, and it just didn't work. I only have 1,000 square feet. And so
you
it's a
fit
really
everything that you can
yeah.
into that space.
Even like the one contractor, which like, you know, it was a rough journey with him. At one point he was just like, he just stopped and he was looking at the place. It was like, what's wrong now? And he was just like, no, it's just like, there's a lot going on in here. And I was like, that's like the only like compliment I think you've ever given me. Like, damn, okay.
It is a lot to look at, and
Yeah.
it's you know, I'm sure sometimes it might be more difficult because you don't have like moving around space, but you do have the big windows from the tap room into the brew house. I like how you guys put the party lights on the brew house.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's just part of being a brewer is you want to see where the beer's made. So it is very interesting.
And like even going further from that, like, you know, we went through great lengths to everyone when we were opening up. They're like, how are you going to separate yourself? Which is just like an outdated question because it's like, oh, like they do the fruited hazy this, they do the kettle sour that. Like this brewery now does lagers, which are finally cool.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to make beer that I want to drink.
Yeah.
Like no one else is doing that. So that was my answer for a while, but in the back of my head, because I didn't want to ruin it, was like, we have a space that's not a brewery. Like it's one of my best friends who worked in the industry for a long time. He came in and he sat down and he was just like, are you brewing here? I'm like, yeah. He asked me, where's the brewery? And I was like, right there. It was right next to him. Like he didn't notice it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like, that's a good thing and a bad thing for us, where it's just like, we were we don't want to be just like everyone else. We wanted to separate ourselves somehow, and the tasting room is how we separated ourselves. Like it's an experience that's uniquely ours. And because it's like the beer that I want to make it's unique because I made it, but it's not unique in the grand sense of beer. Like it's just well-made beer, but I still like classic styles. Like, you know, I'm drinking a cream ale, and cream ales are top seller. Like cream ale's not a sexy beer. It's not anything that special.
Yeah, if you think that you're going to go make something...
That's actually where the name came from. They're like, why is it special? I'm like, I don't know. It's special enough.
If you think that you're going to go make something that's going to change the industry and be your special thing, then 3 months later, someone's just going to copy you anyway. So then it's not your special thing anymore.
And I mean, like, you know, some would say that that's like the best form of flattery, but like there's no originality anymore.
Yeah.
Like being original now is just being yourself.
Yeah.
The days of like actually being original and making stuff that kind of is like potentially not great for the industry, like, you know, we all worked for those people, so we don't want to do that. So,
you know, I think your tap room like blows a lot of places I've seen out of the water. Like one of the top in Philly. It's
Thank
sick
you.
to be at.
Yeah.
And we talked before. Who was the designer that put it together?
So it's Laura from Betsu Studios. So she had her main space is right next to our space in Ambler Street.
Cool.
So it's just in the same hallway, like just a little bit
I mean,
further.
everything, like you said, everything goes together. It's like
yeah,
feels
she's
like you're
so talented.
You said a warm space that feels like your crazy aunt that lets you
Yeah.
smoke weed, but no, everything's designed perfectly.
Once
It's
everything came together, I was looking around, like it all comes together.
like the
in,
furniture
one
is very
day.
nice. It's not just that it looks nice and there's like wood paneling and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like everything fits together.
She would bring in these pieces, and out of context, I was looking at them like, all right, like that's tacky and weird. But then when everything came together and everything was cleaned up and it was in the space or like in its place where it's supposed to be with everything around it that's supposed to be there, it was like, oh wow, like This is really like 1-to-1 from Ambler Street, just like nice and not in a shitty warehouse. Like,
Yeah, it upgraded it.
Yeah.
And you guys have all the records too, right?
Yeah.
And that
The
kind of
record
like
piece is
feels
cool.
to like the warmness and the homey feel of it.
Yeah, so we all joke that the only reason that place opened was because Justin needed a place to put his records,
It's a very expensive storage
which is not
location.
untrue. So
A lot of those records his.
they're all his for
They're
the most
all
part. Some
his?
staff brings in like a few records here and there. I think I have a total of 2.
my
I have
God.
Billy Strings and a Ween album, and that's like it. They're all Justin's. He's just like, he's a maniac.
Oh my god.
He loves music, and he loves collecting stuff, and he's joined all these like subscriptions. They just send him stuff. Like he doesn't he trusts these places so much that they just like their recommendations is just he just buys it without even hearing what it is. And these places, like, he has extremely good taste, and he's very well read. So a lot of these places that he puts his faith in, like, they send some good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always really fun because, like, probably at least half of it I've never heard of before.
And how does it work? The bartenders pick stuff out? Like,
Yep.
I'm not a music person either. I'd be like, just pick out some random thing and
Yeah,
it would
and like you can't go wrong. Like, and if you do, you just turn it off.
be something else.
there is some stuff in that collection where it's just like, nah, come on, man, you gotta turn this off. Like,
And you guys have the DJ booth too. Is that where it goes, or you
no,
guys...
we have a turntable behind the bar.
Okay.
So that the bartenders don't have to run back and forth.
Cool.
It's an extra challenge, especially when it's busy. But everyone, like, once you get into your groove, it's pretty easy to.
But I'm sure they like that. It's like if I was a bartender, I'd be
yeah.
wanting us to like my music, not like
Yeah.
here's the
Well,
new
I
Katy
mean,
Perry song.
You need a
on repeat.
specific type of person that enjoys that, and we've been so fortunate to have the best staff. Like,
Well, I think that's part of the people that come and work at a brewery.
yeah,
It's like you need those type of people to create that environment anyway.
yeah, absolutely.
So
like, they're the face. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I can come on and do stuff like this, but at the end of the day, like, they're the ones that are really the face. Like,
Exactly.
they're the voice, they're the face, they're representing everything that we do. So, like,
And it ties together with the rest of the taproom work. It feels like you're just like at your buddy's house, and you're in his basement, just hanging out.
yeah. So it's cool experience.
That's
Everyone
awesome.
Come by.
You really should though. Like
Yeah.
it's
I
a
spend
good
way
time.
too much time there.
And you said it's hot dog night tonight?
It's hot dog night. Yeah.
Nice. I
How
think
do you-
hot dogs are making a comeback. I feel like the last couple of years, there's been like a lot of people doing hot dog stuff,
Yeah.
and I like it. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know,
Hot dogs are cool.
hot dogs are hot.
They're great for you. Yeah.
How do you do different food vendors?
Yeah.
Rotation.
Yeah, so generally Thursday to Sunday we always have somebody.
Okay. I remember you had Mom-Moms at one point.
We've had Mom-Moms twice. Once was for a private party. It was my homie's wife's birthday. Well, she's also my homie. It was her 40th birthday. It was a surprise. I told them that we were doing pictures with Santa Claus. She's like, "Oh, I was trying to find Penny like a Santa Claus to go to. That's perfect." So she showed up, and we got Mom-Moms to come for that because
Was Santa Claus there?
No. It's like 3 Jewish dudes doing Santa Claus at their brewery. Like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but I'm in. But it's just like,
Shout out Kevin Kilroy. You've had him on Duck.
yeah, he started coming in.
Yeah, that's my buddy
I
from
think
high
we were
school.
his first pop-up.
I think so. He goes to you guys, ARS.
Yeah.
Maybe Cartesian,
Yeah,
maybe.
so he's there about once a month at this point.
Nice.
So he brings in a great crowd. Everything's really good.
Nice.
But yeah, the other time that we had Mom-Moms, it was like we were still in our honeymoon period, and I think that potentially was still the most crowded that place has ever been.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like, not that I totally enjoyed it, but it was like kind of just like, yeah. Like, people would walk in and just be like, nope, and then leave.
Really?
It was packed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever get behind the bar?
I try not to. It's just like, it's stuff that I made, so it's like you can just have it for free. Like,
Yeah, it feels kind of awkward. You're
Yeah.
like trying to like be the salesman and
yeah.
be the one managing the bar. It's like,
Yeah, my joke is just like I'll bar back like all day. Like I'm a brewer. That's what brewers are good at. And then if somebody asks me like, "Oh, like can I close out?" I'm like, "I don't work here," and I just like look down and continue to like clean glassware or something like that. I have done that before, not at Sacred Vice.
so when you talk about you brew what you want to brew. So I'm drinking, what is this? A dark mild ale.
Yeah,
You have on, what's the special enough?
cream ale.
Cream ale, and then Evan, what are you drinking?
I'm also drinking the cream ale.
What's the rubbish?
Rubbish is hazy IPA.
Hazy IPA. So you have kind of a mix of everything. You have lagers, you have English ales, which I think are making a comeback.
Yeah.
And then you have the hazy IPAs. Yeah. So it's like kind of all over the place, which is nice.
I mean, I try and brew something for everyone, and it's like we have 14 beers on tap, so I don't want to just. I do blocks of like IPAs and then lagers and then sessionable beers, and we have one saison, which does not do well, which fucking sucks, but whatever.
But you gotta have it on. You gotta have one funky thing on that doesn't sell. I think there's a rule.
Yeah, well, we have a few things on that don't sell, but those are the beer that I drink the most of. I look at like the unit sales every week, and I'm like, that was me. Like every single one was me.
Yeah.
It's like we sold 8 pints. I'm like, I drank 7 of them. That's an English beer. That one, not this one. Another bitter that we do. Like I just being from Iron Hill. And then even at 2SP, like 2SP was so unique in the fact that like we had this group that was Brand X is what the sales guy called it. And Brand X made up like 40% of our sales, and then the other like 40 being like the hazy IPA, which is always to be expected.
Yeah.
But Brand X is just like give me an IPA, give me a lager, give me a like weird something that we're doing for somebody.
Yeah.
Give me this, give me that. Like Brand X was just the grouping of beers that we only brewed maybe once a year, not even, or just one time, like ever. That was all Brand X. And then at Iron Hill, you had 20 some beers on tap, so you were brewing a different style like every week or so. So that's just what I've always done.
What's your favorite to brew or drink? Is it
my favorite
to brew? Is it the English styles?
Yeah, they're easy. It's like 5-hour brew day, 6-hour brew day.
Yeah, like you said, single infusion and just
anything with malt is great. Like malt just smells so good.
Yeah.
And then the English beers aren't necessarily all strong. They're usually on like the lower side.
But I think the way your tap room looks and feels, I think English beers kind of go perfectly with it.
Yeah, I wish everyone thought that, because then they would drink more.
It'll come around. It's like as much as like we are the kind of tip of the spear as far as like what beer trends, because like we're just locked in it. Like the general public is going to take like 2 or 3 years to get.
Yeah, I mean we'll do what we can as brewers. Like March is coming up, and Forest and Maine does the mild thing.
Yep.
We just joined on yesterday. I'm doing a collab with Crime and Punishment for that one.
Awesome.
But it's still just like talking with Mike. I'm like, we had been talking about doing a collab anyway. He helped me with some equipment in the space. I was just like, yeah, do you want to make this the collab? And he was like, yeah, that's smart. So you don't have to have a full batch of mild on tap. I'm like, yeah, that was part of it.
Calculated.
So yeah, it's me, him, and Ben Potts. We're doing the collab for March Mildness. So it'll be pretty fun.
But Ben Potts is he's making
just
a comeback?
No. He's just hanging out. That's funny. We were talking the other day on our chat group, and he was just like, this is the most excited I've been to brew a beer in like 10 years.
Hey, maybe he'll change his mind. Yeah. Maybe he'll pull him back in.
I doubt that. Maybe in another like 5 years or so.
He'll miss it a little bit more.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like, I love English beers. A lot of our peers love English beers, but it's just you gotta be patient with them. They'll get there one day, or they won't. And it's just like I'm still gonna keep making them even if they don't sell, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What's selling the most IPAs?
It's a mix. Usually our Pilsner, like pints over the bar in sheer numbers. Pilsner's number 1 week after week. Our German Pils. Specials up there. Between Special and Rubbish are our 2 top sellers because we can them. So as far as volume goes, those are our 2 top sellers.
Are those the only 2 can? I mean, you obviously can other things, but like, what do you put into distribution?
We don't do much cans in distribution.
Okay.
I think we've only done, we did Zigzag Barbecue. We do some farmers markets and like.
And are you canning there, or do you guys contract brewing? Or
no, so I'm fortunate enough that I have a friend, Chris Endricat at New Ridge.
Okay.
He lets me bring beer there, and then I can it with him, so that he charges me per can.
Yeah.
But there's no minimums, and like I can do it in kegs because he is able to do that on his setup. So I go there and I do like 30 cases at a time over like 2 or 3 brands, which is great for us because we don't have space.
Yeah.
Like it's hard being in a brew pub and trying to keep up. It's like everyone wants cans, everyone wants to go, and that you make a lot of money doing that. Like you can't not have that option.
Yep.
You can't have everything, but if you were in another space, then you had space, then it probably wouldn't be as cool. Or like tap room,
renting cold space, and then having to like work with those logistics, and just another pain in the ass thing that I have to deal with. It's one of those things talking about like, you know, working with all these people and meeting all these people and developing these relationships. Like I would be nowhere without my relationships. This brewery would never have happened without my relationships. The first 6 months that we were open, I didn't brew any beer there because I couldn't get my contractors to finish the job. Yeah,
this is what blows my mind about people with like Ken Grossman. It's like, how the hell did you figure this out? Like you knew how, not only could you figure out like all the bullshit, but you also like knew how to weld and like put dairy tanks together.
That's very much a brewer mentality. I was talking to, I had a problem with my chiller since New Year's Eve. And Justin was just like, dude, just call somebody. I'm like, no, I think I figured it out this time. And he's like, dude, just call somebody. No, I got it this time. I swear. Like, this is it. And then it went down again, and I finally called somebody, and he was just like, I was talking to the guy that we hired to fix the chiller, and he was just like, you brewer guys, like, you just try and do everything yourself. I'm like, yeah, nobody has money, like, but so that's just the mentality. It's just like you open a brewery, and then everything starts breaking. So
but then you become like the master of everything. Like, you know, you probably should have called somebody, but because you didn't call somebody, like you have a better understanding of it the next time.
Yeah. So it's just like, you know, trial and error. And it's like, I've never tried to fix this specific chiller before because we just turned it on a few months ago.
Yeah.
So like new problems with it getting cold, and it's on the roofs, it's outside, and like with, you know, having those nights that it was 6 degrees for like 4 days straight. Like, the chiller's not doing too well. So, but it was an easy fix. And he came out, and he knew what it was immediately, and now I know. And now this dude has seen the unit, so I can have a steady dialogue with him. Really good dude. So that's what it is. Like,
nice.
Yeah. That's why they pay us the medium bucks or whatever. I don't know.
The mild bucks.
There you go. That's a good one.
So what is, you guys, like Evan said, like you guys made, I think, a big splash opening the tap room because it was very nice. And like a lot of people just kind of like what I'm trying to take over somebody else's spot that's already gone out of business. But like you guys were one of the first people that opened up a new spot in a while in the city.
I was very fortunate to be involved with the 2 guys that I'm involved with. So they had a dream, and they were able to like make everything meet. So
nice.
Just knowing them and them having faith in me, it was great. Like, I'm so fortunate. Like, that doesn't just happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what I did, but here we are.
And then who is your GM?
Angelica.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like I recognize her. Well, you guys made some posts about her. I'm like, where's this girl from? I don't know.
So before she was with us, she worked for Garage South. She opened Garage South.
Okay, cool.
That's how I met her.
Okay.
I was going there, and she was pouring a permit. They had 4 drafts there, and one of the 4 was always up and out from 2SB. And I was close with one of the owners too, so it was just something that happened pretty organically.
Nice.
Yeah, Garage, the one in Fishtown, has like this big 2SP sign. I always it pulls me in every time.
They bought that specifically for that space.
Did they really?
Not cool. Garage, 2SP did.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they turned it on and they're like, whoa. Right. And you can see it from like the street.
Yeah, when I drive home, like
it's like a beacon. It's like, come in here, they might have 2SP.
It's funny. It's the neon signs are funny. I was telling Evan today, I walked by what's it called? What's the beers? Frankfurt Hall. Mm-hmm. And there was just like a big ass Brewdat sticker on like one of the napkin holders, and I was just like, okay, Brewdat. Like it just like went through my head for 3 seconds. But it is funny, like driving down the street, and, like you see 2SP signs or like Sacred Vice, and you just like make a quick note, like I don't know. I mean, I said that's why they're doing their job, but stupid thought. It's like it's funny. Just you have to like literally put it in neon and bright, like think about me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Garage is a huge selection too, though. So it's You get in front of it right there.
Yeah, and for the most part, people that go in there only drink like two things. It's either seltzer or Miller Lite. That's that corner.
Yeah.
But
or they put a curse on the sports teams in Philly with the big mural there. Cool. So I guess do you guys have plans in the future? Like, yeah, I mean, getting this taproom open was kind of like such a big thing. Like, you guys have to kind of like I don't think that you guys need to do anything right now, like
as far as expanding
or doing anything else, like getting more into distribution.
Yeah, like distribution is definitely part of the conversation now. Like, we're fully up and running.
Yeah,
it's a 10-barrel brewery, and we're not doing nearly that. We have I have 6 brights. I have 14 lines. 14 batches of beer, 140 barrels of beer. Like, that's not going to happen across the bar.
Yeah.
So definitely distribution, and right now we're just sort of focusing on friends that are like bars that we just go to all the time.
Self-distribution?
Yeah.
Cool.
I was, before I came here, I was dropping off a bunch of kegs in my Subaru.
Nice.
Yeah. Everyone always laughs at me. They're like, is that a company car? I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, just trying to do it however we can. But, as people start to learn who we are, it's just me in the brewery. Like, Justin can help when he can, but he has a day job. So I'm making the beer, and then I'm getting everything ready to go out there and hoping that he has time to like help me drop a keg in a basement. So at this point, it's just like, yeah, we might need some help if we want to start selling like a decent amount of beer at bars. Which, like, we're not sure if we want to yet or not, but it's all part of the conversation.
There's no need to rush into it. Just make it sure it's like a natural, comfortable thing,
yeah.
And then take a lot of that headache away from.
Yeah, we're doing really well with the tasting room, so we're buying ourselves a little bit of time. We were a little worried about January, just with dry January.
Yeah, and this is your first January open, right?
Yeah, we have no historical data on like what's it going to look like, but we're doing great. Like, a lot of people want to have their holiday. Like, a lot of our friends have their bar or brewery or whatever holiday party at our space. So it's like, all right, we're closed Tuesday, so you can do it Tuesday. So I was like, wow, like, made a lot of money that Tuesday. Yeah. Everyone like shooting whiskey and stuff like that all night. Like,
and it makes
on
sense.
The company card.
Comfy winter spot.
Yeah.
I know the Eagles are helping a lot of like the places in the city.
Yeah. We do all right, but we have like one projector. So it's like it's like a living room setup, which is like really
it does.
Nice
it really feels like you're in your friend's basement.
Yeah. We don't have any. If you're sitting at the bar, you can't see the game. So that's the only drawback. But those are things we're gonna look to next year.
Cool.
But yeah, now that the Super Bowl is happening, we're just like, all right, like, we all want to watch the Super Bowl, so we're just gonna be open for takeout and go enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Do you guys? You talked before about the happy hour. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing people like kind of stumble in on the way home from work?
Definitely with like the couple dollars off the pints. That's definitely been a draw.
I feel like you guys have a place where it's just like you don't even realize that you're there until like you get home at like 7:30 and you're like, oh crap, I did it again.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of the lighting. Like, when it gets dim, when the sun goes down, you just lose track of time.
Yeah.
So it certainly works with me when I'm done with work. Just like, you're playing, like, even today where I just needed like 2 seconds to sit down after I'd been delivering and I was out like all day today. It's just like, Cam's playing High on Fire, and like I have a half glass of Pilsner. It's just like, nah, I gotta go. So yeah, it's a really pleasant place, especially, even if you come there by yourself, like, it's like you can read a book and not have to talk to anybody, or if you just want to talk to one of the bartenders or your neighbors, like, a lot of the people are from the neighborhood, so that's what we were going for. We wanted a neighborhood spot.
I mean, it's definitely there's so many breweries in Fishtown.
Yeah.
But there's not. I mean, Human Robot's close to you guys. You guys are close to Evil Genius, but it's like the spot you are in. I guess it's technically Kensington, is like, that's where Fishtown is growing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can absolutely see that with all of the construction that's going up along the L. I guess there's an incentive for developers to have, X amount of feet away from the subway. So that's why it's all going up there. And we were fortunate. We didn't want to go into a new building. So we sort of have the benefit of that, like all of that.
Are there apartments above you guys?
Yeah. We have 2 floors of apartments.
Cool.
We're one of the only long-standing, like, old buildings left. Everything else is getting knocked down. But it's a historical landmark. So, and it happened, like, right when the current owners bought the place. So I'm sure they might have wanted to knock it down, but they couldn't. We wouldn't be there if they knocked it down. So
yeah.
We wanted that old brick. That was a big part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, I don't like the new builds. I'm like going around places and like everyone keeps trying to sell me like this mixed use new building. I'm like, no, this has no character to it at all.
Yeah, exactly. And like, our space, it was a pain in the ass dealing with it because it's an old building, old buildings and new problems. But that brick alone and those big windows, like, you can't mimic that.
You can't mimic it, and already it feels homey. The older you guys get, the more it's going to feel like that, and I think it'll keep. It's like fine wine, like a brandy.
We're still
like, it's
growing
going to keep
into
getting better and better and better.
Yeah. And then there's like plans to maybe like switch up the furniture every once in a while, like just to keep it fresh. I don't know if or when that's going to happen, but that was part of the conversation initially, so that could be something pretty cool.
What were like the biggest growing pains opening up a tap room? Because I mean, you've been a part of a lot of like Iron Hill openings.
Yeah.
You're part of 2SP, but this is kind of the first one where you're like, you're not just an employee, like you're kind of a part of it. Was there stuff as far as, because we've tried to have you on and you're like tap room bullshit, and we like same thing with Rich. Like when Rich first opened up at 2 Locals, it was just like, I'm sorry, it's just I'm in charge of a tap room now.
Rich went through a lot of the same struggles as we did. He and I talked a lot. He like, the people that he was working with to get the building like fitted out and done were a little bit, there was a little bit more like, what's the right way to say this without pissing off somebody that might have worked with me who hears this. Like they got through it. Let's just say they got through it a little bit quicker than we did.
Yeah.
But like he had the same issues with like dealing with the city and things not really lining up, and like dealing with like this doesn't fit, that doesn't fit, or like these aren't to spec to the blueprints or something like that. And like he was in a brand new building, so it was a little bit easier to navigate. With us, it was just like we have to cut like a floor out or something.
Yeah.
It's part of somebody's apartment. Like, we were like, right above me is somebody's closet, and that's where my kettle stack goes through. And I'm like, can we just like not give these people a closet? And they're like, maybe we'll figure this out. But my
Why is my closet so hot?
Yeah, my contractors, they eventually solved that problem. But yeah, actually, I lost track. What was the initial question?
Like opening up a tap room, like
the challenges.
Yeah.
I would say like
do you feel actually like when you're at Iron Hill and 2SP, like there was other people that were kind of like overhead, where like now you're much as you're saying you're behind the bar and like you're saying you don't work there, like you're having to like
I said
oversee.
that once and it wasn't it.
True. Yes, it was not there, but it's like. You're now like in charge of like people being drunk at your tap room. Like before, like when you were at Iron Hill, like it doesn't matter if someone's drunk. Like you have to like kick out one of your customers that's giving you money.
There's a lot of accountability with that. And on my side in the brewery, it's just like if I put out beer that's like just okay, like it's not at 2SP where it's like, it's kind of a cop-out thing to say, but like out of sight, out of mind, because it's like it's 20 barrels. It just goes out and then it gets drank in the next like couple months. Yeah. Here, it's just like it might take more than a couple months.
And even Iron Hill, like as much as you're a pub brewer, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle because like it is such a big brand.
But it's like it's there. It's like if somebody has something to say, they can knock on the door because you're right there.
And also, like you said, you're the only one making it. So it's like buck stops here.
Luckily, like I've been like less than happy with stuff, but that's just me. I'm my own hardest.
Well, you should be like that. Like if you're hard on it, then like people have a lot. This doesn't sound good, but people have a lot lower expectations of your beer than you do,
right? Absolutely.
Which is how it should be.
There was something that somebody posted on our Instagram. We got a write-up in for the Special Enough, and it was like a pretty special write-up. And we just promoted it a little bit, and then somebody commented, and they're like, "Oh, that's funny. I bet Ruby still thinks it could be better." And I was like, "Yeah, I actually do." Like,
yeah.
so
That's the. I mean, you can just brew something else. Also, that's the.
Yeah, but as far as like, just there's nobody to hide behind. There's nothing to hide behind. It's like not that I need to hide behind anything, but like knowing that is a lot different than knowing that like Bob is the head brewer, and I like even though they're my recipes, Bob's still the head brewer.
It's probably definitely more rewarding though. I mean, also when things go well, it's all you.
It's rewarding in a different way. It's always been rewarding. It's just not that I take all of the credit, because a lot of it I bounce these ideas off of Angelica, off of Matthew and Justin, off of my bartenders.
Yeah.
Like it's a group effort. I don't want to just make something. Like every once in a while, I'll just make something, be like, yeah, I wanted to drink it, so I made it. But most of the time, it's like, how do you think this would be received in the tasting room? And that's a huge like concern of mine, because I want them to make money. I want to make their jobs as easy as possible. So I'm not making beer for myself every time. You know, I have to like work with my team to make sure
it's almost,
they have stuff that they want to sell.
It's almost in a way a type of performance art where like you're putting something out there for people to. I mean, it's not music per se, but it's delayed gratification performance art where you're putting it out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I am making all of this beer for myself, but I'm still sharing it with everyone. So it's like you got to think of your audience. Like, you know, like I kept saying, like, how is this unique? How are you going to separate yourself? It's mine.
Yeah.
It is mine. But I still want to make people happy. I want to make people want to come. I want to keep everyone's attention, and I want everyone to be stimulated and have like, I want them. I don't need this to be the focus piece, like any style or any beer, but at the very least, it's just like, oh, this is good, and then you can continue on with your conversation or whatever. Like bringing people together and it just being like, oh, that place is cool. Like they have good beer. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Like that's all I need. And you know, when I would lose that, that would be like probably my biggest fears in my professional life. So.
No, it's good. Keep it alive.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess, do you have anything else you need to plug? I mean, I think we've gone kind of through everything. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah,
I know
thanks for having me. I'm
it's
glad
like
it finally happened.
We wanted you to come on. It's same thing with Rich. Like we started asking you to come on like right when your tap room was opening.
No, that's when it was. It was just like, you know, the first 6 months we were open, I was just like, yeah, I'm brewing all my own recipes, just not here. So let's wait until I'm actually like making beer with my own two hands and it's all like fully mine.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to wait until the right moment.
Definitely.
And that's been like the big thing with this whole thing is like make sure that like everything has to feel right. So.
Definitely. Like you said, like I feel a lot of stuff is just like you don't jump into anything. You take your time, make sure it's done right, and then everything will work itself out.
Yeah. So
cool.
Thanks, guys.
And then where can we follow you guys? Follow you guys at. I mean, I know you guys have a couple different social media.
Yeah, there's Sacred Vice Brewing and Sacred Vice Berks.
Yep.
So one's more beer heavy and one's specific to everything Berks.
Cool.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. And then you can find us at Brewdat, at the Brewdat Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.